if one were wary of talking about conspiracy, one would say that there was clearly a conspiracy against blacks in this country. Because in all parts of this country that you look, they're looking at Ladbroke Grove in London, or Brixton in London, or Moss Side in Manchester, or Handsworth in Birmingham. In all the parts that you look at, it's clear that the state, at top national level, and certainly at local level, the state has moved to manipulate blacks in any way that it's wanted to. In this area, this used to be called in those days Brown Town, because a lot of black people had settled in this area. Most of those people are now, in fact, a large number of them have moved out of this area. They've been moved out by rehousing and however else institutionalized racism works to mobilize black people into places where they want them. In places like Moss Side, it's more devastating. It's clearer that they've just moved through areas where black people, for a longer period now, Moss Side clearly has a much longer history of black presence than Ladbroke Grove. I mean, Ladbroke Grove begins to have black presence in the 50s, in the mid-50s, and thereon. Moss Side has one that goes way, way back, certainly into the Second World War period. In 1945, as most people now know, there was actually a Pan-African Congress, which was held there because there was a strong black community there. Now, that community, in this more recent period of heavy racism in the society, has just been mown down, destroyed, completely destroyed, in a way viciously.
The excuse was that Manchester was developing a ghetto. Ghettos, as had been seen from the American experience, were bad things because out of ghettos came riots and so on, and they were determined not to let it happen here. So that it now became necessary during the late 60s to find a way of containing this very threatening presence, and the way that was found was the destruction of the black community. All along here there used to be black people's houses, Carter Street and Monton Street and so on.
I mean, I was born around here, and it gets you very angry that you face it. You say, well, you've got to go wherever they've got places for you. This is before they even consider anything else. It's not an ideal community, but it is a community where people know one another, and you don't want to move out. We've got a lot of old people, we've got a lot of black people in the area that feel very, very strongly about it.
We, as a community, fought a long campaign to persuade the city council to refurbish these houses, to bring them up to an acceptable living standard. What happened was that they chose to bulldoze the lot. Many of the people who owned these sorts of houses were ripped off in a peculiarly brutal way, because after paying for a mortgage for perhaps 10 years, people received as little as £50 in what was called bricks and mortar value for their homes. But £50 was just enough to pay about 2 weeks rent for the new flats that the council offered as an alternative to homes. So that what you have here in Hume, which is interesting at least because it is the area in which Engels did much of his work for the book The Conditions of the English Working Classes. This is precisely the same area. It's interesting because the black people have now become the new underclass that structures British society by being maintained at the bottom. So what they meant was, by integrating black people at the very bottom of society with the worst families who had the major kinds of problems and so on, and had fallen to the bottom of white society. This, in fact, satisfied the city, and they felt that their policy was successful. They advertised it widely throughout Europe as an answer to the problem of black people. There are 2 entrances only, and this means that in a situation of social control, if, for instance, one of the famous British black riots develop or whatever, because they make these things when they decide to, it is perfectly feasible and easy to control these buildings because there are only 2 points of access. And a relatively small force of army or police can control all these, all the people within these buildings.
Yeah. I'm dead. Clean up. Hold it. Oh, fine. Great. Huh?
I think the whole point is that the British school in fact does negate the personality of black children, and it doesn't do so accidentally, that it actually sets out to remove any feature that might threaten the society. And of course, since the society has defined blackness as a threatening feature, what happens is a kind of deliberate attempt at inducing a psychosis in the child's mind, so that whatever it isn't black. And I think that one of the things that the Saturday school does is motivate children and engender a demand in the community for our children to have that right to be black, to understand and be proud of what they are.
We are a community bookshop. Each year since we've been here, we've had sessions where we talk about culture, art, music, history, and we have had quite a lot of people coming from the black community, writers and journalists and artists and musicians coming here and giving the kids that which is lacking in the present school system at the moment.
Is everybody ready? Yeah! Are we doing this? Yeah!
After drifting through school. What can we say that I say? Because you know it's like get all these, you know, when in the system and like say a curious officer come and say, well, you too can become a doctor. And there's a finger on the wall pointing at you and say you can become a teacher. You can go in the army and all this kind of thing. So my mind was completely lost, really. You know, it's like I was going through, you know, all the people coming to you and saying you can do this and you can do that. So I did a few O-levels and then kind of something.
You see,
I left and, you know.
He didn't know himself until he knew me.
So you did that? Well, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, it's something that was sort of generated from school. They're saying, you're going to want a car, you're going to want a house, and you got to do this and you got to do that, and you want to earn a wage above a certain amount, and it's all drummed into you, you know. Time after time, you're going to need this and you're going to want that, you know, and so on. You're going to need a holiday at least once a year and all the things, you know, and you got to study, you know, and what they didn't tell you was that you're black, and we're going to stop you doing all this, you know, we're going to do our best to stop you getting all this, you know.
if we are simply here saying, okay, we understand all the problems and we're crying about it, then the man will come along and shift us. He'll shift us from here, he'll shift us from wherever we are, because we are on his land, we are on his premises. I'm saying that what we have to do is to hold land, create institutions, places that young people can move around.